Good evening, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus. My name is Faraz Patel. We'd like to thank you, the viewer, for staying with us on Hilal TV, DSTV channel 347. We begin with this, and South Africa's battle against organized crime is once again under the spotlight following a series of high-profile arrests and explosive court cases involving senior police officials, influential taxi industry figures, and political personalities. In one of the most shocking developments that we have seen this week, SAPS officials were granted bail after appearing in court on serious allegations linked to corruption and criminal activities. Meanwhile, the arrest of prominent taxi boss Joe Ferrari Sibanyoni has reignited concerns over violence, extortion, and organized criminal networks within the taxi industry. These cases raise serious concerns about the state, of law enforcement in South Africa, the alleged infiltration of crime syndicates into powerful institutions, and whether the country's justice system is coping with the increasingly sophisticated organized crime networks. Thus, while the Madlango Commission continues to unveil much more on the state of the criminal justice system. To unpack these developments, we are now joined by crime expert and special investigator Mike Bolhuis. Mike, always a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us here on News in Focus on Hilal TV.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, absolute pleasure. Mike, over these last few weeks, if I were to ask you what is the current state of law enforcement, how would you respond to that?
It is shocking and beyond words. Most of our communications the last couple of months has been about extreme corruption in South Africa. And it is, I don't know what can shock us more than so many generals, so many politicians, so many policemen, so many businessmen being involved in organized crime and racketeering. That's a huge concern. And the fortunate thing is that we are seeing some form of success in the sense that the people are being arrested and there is action taken against them. And that makes a huge difference to the public. And the public is supporting the Madlango Commission and the authorities presently operating against these criminals. And they are not alleged criminals. They are criminals that have identified themselves very clearly in the Madlango Commission. And therefore the arrests, we hope obviously that there will be more arrests. The concern will also be if there's enough good policemen left to replace the bad ones. And secondly, is there still enough good policemen that is able, willing and capable to react and act and execute further arrests? Because there's a lot of other brigadiers and colonels and warrant officers and constables that is involved. Presently, the Madlango Commission and special units in the police are concentrating on the top structure in our country. And that is, as we've seen recently, even looking into the Phala Phala case, the dollar situation with the president and ministers and other parliament and municipal officials, extreme businessmen, and the top structure in the police. But remember, organized crime and racketeering operates with the head of the snake, which I've just mentioned, is all of that part of. And then you have those that are given instructions to do the job, to do the hits, to do the transport, to actually do the physical organized crime and racketeering. And those ones are still to be obviously identified and dealt with, and I'm sure they will. But taking in consideration the huge task that is up ahead, we all know, I mean, everybody that's listening knows, this is the tip of the iceberg, is it not?
Yeah,
look how all the drug situations is coming out. I mean, suddenly all the drug thefts from done by the authorities is coming out. So let me give myself a break here and hear if there's any other questions, but this is a shocking situation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, today's revelation at the Madlango Commission of the 300 million rand worth of cocaine, I think for me was just, quite startling. And it comes to my next question, Mike, that how are criminal syndicates linked to individuals inside law enforcement. If we were to just listen to the Madlanga Commission since it started last year, it's quite clear. It's evident for all of us to see.
Yeah, look, crime always starts with a thought. It's always a thought. We can't control it. We get a lot of thoughts in our heads, but it's what we do with those thoughts. I always say it's very important to understand how your mind works. You cannot allow something wrong in your mind, because then you'll consider it, you'll contemplate it and execute it. Plan and execute and do something about it. And greed, money, is probably one of the strongest pulls there is, spirits there is in the world that can pull you towards. And making a decision then, once you've had the thought or see the opportunity or the possibility. For instance, drugs is the most lucrative crime that you can commit by selling it, because the margin profit is between 300 to 500%. So it lures and it will bring those closer to it and get involved with it because they know this, and if the possibility is there, they will do it. Because in South Africa, criminals commit crime because they can and can get away with it. That's been the norm all along. This corrupt general situation has started with the Jackie Salebi era. But, you know, it's just carrying on. And that's when you get involved. And that's why businessmen get involved. And that's how they become friends. Because, you know, a kind will look out for another kind. So they will scour and see who will be with them in this endeavor. And then they will create a team. There's no way one person can pull off such a heist. And there's many of these drug busts that we are now seeing that has been restolen by the very police that is involved and the very criminals from which it was taken. It takes a group of people. It starts with a thought. They decide to do it, they plan it, and they execute it.
Mike, you specialize in investigations. You understand the thought process that goes to it. What are some of the challenges that investigators, or even that, whether it's private or within SAPS, face when probing high-ranking police officials? We saw what happens with whistleblowers, especially when it comes to municipalities. Take, for example, someone like Babita Deokaran, who was murdered because she was investigating what was happening at the Tembisa hospital. Talk to us about that, because when you do interfere with the work of corrupt individuals, there is going to be a sort of ripple effect that comes with that.
Yeah, this is a very serious question and answer, because first of all, a policeman's job, and everybody must listen very carefully here, a policeman's credo, his job is to identify a crime, evaluate the crime, do the risk analysis on a crime, investigate the crime, solve the crime, and then prevent the crime. If he doesn't do it, he is a misrepresentator. He misrepresentates himself. He is he commits fraud, and he commits theft because he gets a salary. You cannot hire a diesel mechanic and then a painter comes and tries to do the work. A policeman is cut out to do his work, and I've identified it perfectly. If they don't do it, it's problematic. So they know it comes with risks and consequences. But if every policeman that we have in our country just practice those 6 principles, just think of it for a moment. If they just practice that, there won't be a concern of any crime being committed, planning to commit a crime or executing a crime, because the moment it's identified, you will take the necessary steps. And that's why there's a huge problem with policemen that was too scared and now suddenly come forward. And then they stated, many witnesses said, yeah, but they're scared, or they were influenced, or they were manipulated or threatened, intimidated, and we've seen some people die. And the gangsters and the organized crime criminals thrive on the fact of name and reputation, fear and intimidation. If you don't do what we say, we'll kill you and your family. We've got photos, we've got information, and also remember, unfortunately for all the criminals, organized crime and racketeers all have files on each other.
Sure.
So if you talk, he talks. If she talks, he talks. Or if he talks, she talks. And they have those things on each other because they all commit these crimes together, and that's why they don't talk. And then if somebody then does talk, they will take somebody out or threaten and intimidate to the point not to talk. However, all these policemen now testifying of what they know and officials in government, everybody that says he has known about this and not done something about it is complicit. You're complicit. If me and you see a crime happening and me and you do nothing about it, we leave the crime to flourish, to grow, to become more and bigger and more effective, and the criminals get away with it.
Mike,
Then we are complicit.
Mike, I have to stop.
If you don't stand up against crime as a policeman, you're not a policeman.
Mike, I have to stop you there because we have to go to a break, but we will continue the conversation with the crime expert, I beg your pardon, and special investigator Mike Bolhuis. We're going to be touching on criminal syndicates. Are they becoming more emboldened, more embedded within legitimate institutions? News in Focus returns after this. Welcome back to News in Focus. I'm still in conversation with Mike Bolhuis. Mike, again, thank you so much for staying with us. Mike, in your view, given the rise of technology, especially with things like artificial intelligence, and criminal syndicates are using that, are they becoming more sophisticated and more deeply embedded within legitimate institutions, given the sort of weakness we are seeing within the criminal justice system?
Of course. And as I've said, just finishing that sentence, there's a huge problem for all these policemen now is testifying that they've seen and known and heard of all of this. And they're testifying to the effect. Why haven't they at that stage come forward knowing that a policeman should immediately, what damage has been caused ever since they knew of this and not reporting it? Lives lost. Crimes grown to much bigger crimes, more corrupt cops being involved. Crime grows, crime begets crime. So, yeah, the criminals is very clever. They use the technology of today. They cannot commit crime without cell phones, laptops, or digital or electronic communications. All the planning is in it. They can use the phones for observance, for track and tracing, obviously communications, instructions, etc., etc. You can think for yourself. We see it in the movies. It's exactly like the movies. They use it. And that's why a cybercrime unit is of the most important in South Africa, which is presently not as it should be. It should be the biggest unit because if you have a criminal cell phone, you have the criminal. If I were to enter a room and there's a dead body, and this is a murder, and there's a lot of documents lying around, 2 witnesses standing there, and other forensic information and CCTV footage, etc., and a cell phone of the criminal that committed the crime, I will choose the cell phone. Because the cell phone has saliva on it, so I have the DNA. It has fingerprints on it, so I'll have the fingerprints. And the cell phone will put me in a position to know exactly what that criminal has done. But the criminals also been clever. They use what we call toss phones. When they commit crimes, they barely have information on it, and they destroy it afterwards because they know that cybercrime experts can track and trace them and can put them at the scene and crime.
Mike, let's talk about political interference, and let's give 2 examples, the recent examples. You've got Fadil Adams, Member of Parliament, with allegations there of, just today, of course, at this bail hearing, that a cell phone was used with regards to a suspect in a very high-profile political murder case. And then you've got Senzo Mchunu, who has been alleged to have played a role in the disbanding of the political killings task team. Hence, that's the reason why, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi had that press conference. And now we have Senzo Mchunu, who's currently being suspended in his role as police minister. How does political interference play in the weakening of criminal investigations?
Hugely. If it's not done, what shall we call it, in a working arrangement. However, policing should always be separate from public and state. A policeman, as I've identified, is someone that must be able to act against the president, against any and other person that commits, man on the street to the president, that commits a crime, according to the crime. So nobody is above the law. We cannot say that and not practice it. The police has that role. That also includes that if another policeman commits a crime. So remember, the law of being a policeman, of executing your job, is first of all you yourself keeping you in place, as well as those around you, and take the necessary from steps to drastic steps if something is wrong. And let's be honest, we all actually know what's wrong. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in some form of authority position. So if the political people interferes with the policing people, it's a huge problem. Unless it is towards a specific crime that has been identified, presented to the political figures or municipality figures, and a working arrangement of working together. But the enforcement and the execution of all the police work, in other words, it's the police that does the investigations, it is the police that arrests the criminals, and then the police, and with its witnesses and those who are working with them in a working relationship, are working together with the judicial system in order to get the perpetrators in prison. That's how it should be. But what has been happening in our country is because if you in the ANC and you're a politician and you have another policeman in the also in the ANC and he's a policeman, then there would be a kind of a relationship that what we would call not looking too deeper into it and overseeing things and being forgiving and being lenient and also being influential. So all those things that is not right, that you shouldn't do, then comes to play. So a political interference in any way, in any crime situation in South Africa, no matter how big it is, as I've said, from presidential level to the man on the street level, should be on the basis of nobody is above the law. We are all accountable for what we do.
Mike, I got one final question and we've got 2 minutes. How close or how far are we to the restoration of trust within the criminal justice system?
We are far away, but look, I say a very ugly statement. The police has collapsed. The authority has collapsed. This country has collapsed. But there is an ability to stand up. This is what we have to do. It is there. The public is changing. They are trusting the Matlanga Commission. It's the tip of the iceberg of all these things we're experiencing. And, you know, we're not even talking about the bad situation regarding the economy, regarding the infrastructure, regarding every and anything we and me and you daily need of this country and are being involved with. That is not going right. We are presently dealing with the worst of the worst we've ever seen in our authorities and in our government. It has collapsed. In other words, collapsed means you cannot use it as present to rule the country or to protect the country. It's non-working. It cannot be effective. It's not trustworthy. So from that level up, we need a new system. We need new policemen. We need a new government. We need new governance. We need new safety and security. We need to get people in place that can really protect and serve our country and love us and care for us.
Mike Bolhuis, always a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us, good sir. Appreciate it.
God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Bolhuis, crime expert and special investigator, chatting to us about the current state of the criminal justice system. After the break, I'll be speaking to Khalid Vauda from Social Intifada, the voice of Hind Rajab, a movie produced by various big names within Hollywood, or executive produced by those names, comes to the South African screens. The bigger topic about that is the amount of children that have died during the genocide in Gaza. This was, of course, the 6-year-old girl who was crying for help but did not get any. I'll be speaking to Khalid after this break.